I'm Sienna.
Oh no, I missed it. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, I'm Sienna.
And I'm Madison.
And you're listening. Hey, I'm Sienna.
And I'm Madison.
I'm yelling at them.
Really embarrassing. Okay, here we go.
Hi, I'm Sienna.
And I'm Madison.
And you're listening to the Just a Person podcast.
Hi everybody, welcome to Just a Person podcast, a show that explores life's highs, lows, and in-betweens. I'm Madison, and today we're talking to Dawn. Dawn talks to us about her journey through infertility treatments and the effect that has had on her life. Thanks so much for listening, and enjoy! Hi guys.
Hi.
Hey.
Today we have on our show Dawn.
Hello.
Whoop, whoop. I've known Dawn pretty much my entire life.
Yeah.
Wait, how did you guys meet?
My older cousin, she's 10 years older than me, was one of Dawn's, but well, they still are. I mean, we were just both also in her wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, I'm going to ask the question now. Are we all ready? Oh, this is a long, this one's really dark.
I'd probably pick this one if I had to guess.
You did.
I'm so excited.
My gosh.
Okay, I'm ready.
This is a long one, so buckle up.
Okay.
If someone you love was killed in front of you, but someone created a copy of them that was perfect, right down to the atomic level, would they be the same person, and would you love them just as much? That was definitely a Sienna pick. You're just like, what
I
was
would,
that?
I would say I would. If they're exactly the same, they look exactly the same, they act exactly the same. Yeah. I'd probably love them. I mean, it'd probably be like reincarnation type thing. I'd probably be really happy they're coming back and I didn't really lose them.
Yeah, that they're not dead. That's
Right.
true. That's true.
Or did I misunderstand that?
No. It's kind of like resurrection or something.
Right.
Yeah,
because it's technically not them. It's just like a clone who is exactly like them in every way. You know?
Well, I feel like that would be
you wouldn't really
best because I wouldn't have to like find somebody else. I already know what I like. I don't have to date.
That's true. You're thinking if your husband is killed.
I went straight to my husband dying. I don't know why.
Okay.
Apparently that
Killing
wasn't
him
the
off.
question.
Just someone you love.
Well,
it could be
he's the
anyone.
first one you think of.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Sienna,
I say yes. I would also. I might feel a bit weird about it at first because I feel like because imagine if like say like your family member dies, like you're sad because you know they actually died. Like so it's like I'd still be sad, but also it's weird because they're right there in front of you. I think I would be I don't know. I'd be happy, confused. I would have to really work it out. It would take me some time.
Yeah. Good thing I don't think we'll ever have to face this situation, but
Right.
I know I'm acting like I really need to like know.
Yeah, I need to figure this out today.
Literally. I guess I don't. I'm gonna say yes. Okay, Madison.
okay, yeah. I don't think I would love them less, you know? That's a question. Would you love them the same? And I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I honestly think you might end up loving them more because you got a second chance.
That's true.
You get to
Have them back. Yeah,
have them
that's
back.
true.
Like you're so happy it's not over.
That's true. It's not over. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That was a little dark. Right.
It was. Okay. It started out really dark. It was someone you love was killed right in front of you. Jeez.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Let's leave that behind us. Okay. So, Dawn, why don't you tell us a little bit about your life growing up?
Sure. So, as I said, grew up with Madison in our small town here in Michigan. So, little rural community. Just had a great upbringing, great parents, one brother, lots of family around that lived around. So, a lot of time with cousins growing up, lots of friends. And my parents were super supportive. So, did lots of sports and 4-H and just constant activities. So yeah, I had a great childhood.
Yeah, Sienna, do you want to know a fun fact about Dawn?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
her and my cousin, they're on a, yeah, I said that right. Her and my cousin, my whatever. Anyway, so they were on a relay team together in track, and they still hold a record at the school.
We do.
No way.
It's our one claim to fame that we have.
Oh, that's actually really impressive.
Yeah.
That you guys still hold it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
What relay was it?
The 4x1. It's
Nice.
a 4x100. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's the first leg.
Start out strong.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What is can you give us like if you're thinking back on your childhood, what's like one just like big highlight?
Oh gosh. There's so many things to think about. It was just fun. Like, I don't know. It was a fun childhood. Like I said, my parents let us do put us in things. Like, I was never bored. My mom did daycare, so there's always kids to play with, which was just a blast. And yeah, it was just a fun time. We had a good childhood. We went on family vacations, so those were always a good time. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
That's a tough question.
Okay. So today we're talking about infertility, which is something you have a lot of experience with, I guess, and a lot to say about. So I guess just first, was it important to you when you were younger or like a teenager that you wanted to be a mom? When did you kind of figure that out?
So I wouldn't say that I had this big epiphany like one day. I think I just always grew up knowing that I would just have kids at some point. It wasn't like the end all be all. I kind of, wanted to be good in school, go to college, start a career, get married, and I figured kids would come after that. So it never was like this, I gotta start my family at this moment in this time. But I was 28 when I got married. And so at that point in my life, I felt like I was ready to start a family, to go down that path. So I'd say, yeah, probably around then, 28, late 20s, I started getting the itch, I think is what a lot of people like to call it.
So I know a lot of people that I know that are my age, they're like freaked out about not being like married in time to have kids. Cause you only, as like a woman, you only have a certain amount of time to have kids. That was not something that you had an experience with.
No, I mean, you always feel that clock ticking, right? They love to say that all the time. But no, I didn't. I think though, because I wasn't married. I think if I had gotten married at maybe 24, then I probably would have been like wanting to start a family earlier. But I wanted to be married before I had kids.
Madison, when you just said a lot of people our age are freaked out, I thought you were going to say by the idea of having kids.
I thought you were too.
No.
And then you said freaked out about like not having kids.
Not like getting married and having kids by a certain age.
Right.
Okay. I guess for me, like when I think, I was like ready to agree with you. I was like, yes, I'm so scared. I'm so freaked out. And then I was like,
of getting pregnant. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was very, I was that person who took the birth control, tracked when I ovulated. Like,
oh yeah,
I very, very much was like, I'm not having a child until I'm ready. And then it didn't happen.
Okay. So why don't you start us there? When you and your husband started like trying to have kids, what happened?
So it's kind of a long story. So I'll try and abbreviate it a little bit. So yeah, when we got married, we, what do you say? Pulled the goalie, right? So we just kind of went that first year of marriage. Like if it happened, it happened. We kind of wanted the like, oh shit moment, like, we're gonna have a baby. So for that first year, it was just kind of whatever. If it happened, great. Then after that first year, I'd done like my annual appointment with my OB, and I was like, yeah, we haven't been able to get pregnant yet. What's going on? And she said, you have to actively try to get pregnant for a year to be referred out to like a fertility specialist. So then we started like using ovulation sticks and really timing the intercourse to make sure, we were having the highest chances for it to happen. So we did that for a little over a year, and it still didn't happen. So then she referred us out at that point.
At what point did you start to think that like you weren't like you might be infertile or anything like that, like within the first year or after? Like how long before you're like, oh, this is kind of odd?
I would say that that first year I was like, that seems weird. Like it
Yeah.
should have happened by now, you know? And you've got a lot of friends and family and everyone who's it's happening and you're like, are we not doing it right? Like, is there something I'm missing here? Like,
Are we not doing this right?
Well, it makes you question yourself.
Yeah,
And I mean, you
yeah.
think more and more, and you're like, what is happening? But then after that second year, when we were really timing it and it wasn't working, then I was like, okay, there's got to be something more going on. And I've had a lot of people in my life who have experienced infertility, close to me, friends, family. So it wasn't like a foreign idea to me that, you know, it's common. Yeah, I think they say now it's like 1 in 8 people deal with it. So it wasn't like out of the realm that I thought. Like I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be one of them, I'm sure. So I'm sure now.
So what was kind of like the first step?
So you do your first consultation and it's called the fertility clinic here. And the first test that you do is first with your significant other. They have to get their semen analyzed to see if it's like mobility or low count or other things. He came back good. And then I had to go get a procedure done, which I can never remember what it's called, but essentially they inject dye through your fallopian tubes just to make sure they're not blocked so that everything can move freely. And yeah, I passed that. So we were good there. So then the first step is typically they put you on a drug, either like Clomid or Femara. And so we did Clomid was the drug we did. And we did 4 rounds of that.
Is that an injection?
That one's just a pill.
Oh, just a pill. Okay.
That you take, and it stimulates your follicles is what they call them. And your follicles are what releases your eggs. So you're stimulating and making those follicles more mature. So then hopefully those eggs release. And then when you have your timed intercourse, you can then get pregnant. I'm going to use the word intercourse so it's not so awkward. And mind you, not a doctor, not like this is just my research.
This is her experience.
Talking and asking questions. So I probably will say something wrong.
Right. That is important. Figure it out for yourself.
Yes.
Like you got to figure out yourself. You're not somebody else. So
Yeah.
that goes with anything.
Mm-hmm.
So you did that for 4 months, correct?
Yep.
And then what happened after that?
So that was kind of like, oh man, we've got like, that was the realization that something isn't right. Like, I think that was the first time that it really hit me. That was like, all right, well, I'm taking these drugs and nothing's happening. Like we never got pregnant. We never had like a positive or any miscarriages or anything. So that was kind of that first realization that like, oh man, okay, this is going to be a road that we're on.
Mm-hmm.
So then after that, the next step they typically have you do is IUI, which I know you shouldn't call it this, but I call it the turkey baster. Because you're on the TVs in the movies, there is like joke about using a turkey baster.
Right.
I mean, it's
Which
definitely
they
not
do.
that.
I'm
It's a very thin catheter. Like, it's not like,
They come to your house, into your kitchen.
Right. Yes. So with that though, that's when you started the injections, putting them in your stomach to really stimulate everything and grow more. And you're doing lots of ultrasounds, like a pre one to make sure you don't have any cysts growing or fibroids. And then you do one to see how mature they are before they do the IUI, which is they wash the sperm and get the best ones, I guess you could say. So, I mean, there's millions of sperm, right? It's ridiculous. But a lot of them are like dead or slow or not good. So they rinse it down to just the best ones. So then you go in and it's a catheter. It's not a turkey baster, but it's like the turkey baster. They squirt them in and you have to lay there with your hips in the air for 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And just hang out.
Very scientific.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hips in the air. Does that actually help?
I'm not sure. You know how they like say they always put like a pillow underneath you? And
Yeah.
I mean,
So
you do it all. When you're
yeah.
infertile, you do it all.
Give it a whirl.
What else can
Give
we
it
do?
a whirl.
I mean, we'll do a handstand for like
Right?
the first 10 minutes.
What can we do? Yeah, so you have to lay there like that for 15 minutes and then then you go about your day. And so we did that 3 times.
So are you doing these things like 3 months in a row or like 4 months in a row, whatever?
Yes and no. So with the first pills, I took like, because we had started, I don't remember what months they were, September, I think. And I took off like the holidays because on the Clomid, I got super bloated and crazy. Like my poor husband. I was crazy. I was so hormonal and just like mean. Like I would look at him and I was mad. Like that really made you moody. Oh, it was crazy. So yeah, that one I took a couple months off, and then the IUIs, we did 2 of them, I think, took 1 month off and then did the next. So everything is based on your cycle. So like cycle day 1 is when your period starts, and then everything goes off of that. So a lot of times, like if you do something, if you have additional tests you have to do, that pushes you out a month. And then if something comes back different, it pushes you out a month. And it's like every month is so valuable in this process. So that's never really fun.
I guess, did they know like what was causing the infertility at this point? Or were they just trying different things and just like trying to get more eggs to see if, like, had they determined even like who was having the infertility, whether it was your husband and his sperm, or whether, because you said last thing you said was like both results kind of came back good for both of you.
Mm-hmm. No, he was 100% good, and every step that I went through, even up to this point, was great. Like I was making the follicles, my progesterone levels were coming where they should, like everything was lining up to where it should work.
And it just wasn't.
Yeah. So that was the most like frustrating part, was they could just never really give me an answer as to why it wasn't working. And so that's, like I always say, in this process, like hope is probably the hardest thing, because every month you just get new hope and you think it's going to work, and then it just doesn't. So then you just feel crushed afterwards. So, but you have to have hope because it's such a mental state too. So that's the worst part.
So after you did IUI, you did that 3 times,
Yes.
right? And then you did, then you were at kind of a crossroads, not sure
right
what to do. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
So we did the 3 IUIs and we still weren't figuring out what was wrong. And in one of my ultrasounds, they found that I was starting to grow fibroids. And there's a couple different types of fibroids, but mine was like a surface one. So it was like growing on the lining of my uterus, which is where you need the egg or the embryo, I should say, to adhere and stay and grow. So that can really be a negative impact on being able to get pregnant. So,
and was this like a new development that you started to have?
Mm-hmm. So a lot of times when you're doing these fertility drugs, you will grow fibroids and cysts. Cysts are really common. Fibroids aren't as common, but you're injecting crazy hormones into your body. And so I started growing them. And so that was when they said, well, let's do a surgery, because we had to remove it for sure. And then since I was still undiagnosed and they couldn't figure out what was wrong, they also wanted to do exploratory surgery through laparoscopic, isn't that how they say it? Like through my belly button. So to see if I had endometriosis. I didn't have any signs or symptoms of it, but at that point they're like, let's just, while we're there, while you're under, let's stick around. Which it was a crazy surgery because they brought me in and then I guess they tip you upside down, so then all your organs like go to the
once again doing a handstand in the lab.
Wow, I was onto something.
Yeah. And then they like fill your body with gas, I guess. And they did find that I had endometriosis, so they removed that, got my fibroid all removed. So that was last May, so May of 2020.
So she was supposed to have that done before,
yes,
but then COVID, so it got put off. So now we're wasting more time.
Yes, so that was like 3 months that we lost because of all that. But you don't want to do another procedure, because what's the point if there's a fibroid that could adhere it, or adhere? Is that the word I want? Mm-hmm. Is it?
Sure. Sounds good to me.
I believed it.
Yes. So yeah, we did that surgery, and then they pretty much said that you have your best chances of getting pregnant after this, because I have like a clean uterus that's ready and my endometriosis is gone. So let's do it. Typically you'd only do 3 IUIs. IUIs only have a 25% chance of being successful. So that's still a really low chance. But my insurance covered IUIs. So
Oh,
I was like,
She's like, bring them on.
let's keep
Yeah.
going. Which I have very good insurance. I feel for other people.
I could just say, I imagine without insurance, IUIs would be quite pricey. I know, like, when people get treated for infertility, it can get really, really expensive really quickly. And then, yeah, you kind of get put in like a weird situation because it's like, so, you mean you can want a child so bad, and then it's so expensive though. Sometimes
It is. And I mean, thank God that we are where we are and we can afford to do this process and go through it. And I just feel for people who can't, what if we didn't have the means? So grateful every day that we can even do this and go down this route, at least give it a try, So yeah, then we did 3 more rounds of IUI after that. And still no positives, no success, no nothing. So then we were at the point where it's like, okay, now what? Because the next step would be IVF in the fertility. So we paused for a little bit and decided to look into adoption and just see if maybe that was a route that we should go down. You think IVF is expensive. Adoption is unbelievably
Adoption
expensive.
is nuts. It's crazy expensive.
Like in Michigan, it's $20,000 to $30,000. And if you want a newborn, which would be great, right? I mean, was that the end all be all? No, but it's a place we wanted to start. And that's like 2 to 3 year waiting list. And birth moms can still take their child back up to 6 months. And then we looked into private adoption, which is like $40,000 to $50,000. And so,
oh my
Yeah,
god,
it's nuts.
so we decided to go.
and that's just all out of pocket. Like you have to pay.
There are tax breaks you can get.
Yeah, but
You have another option,
Right.
Like when we were
wasn't done.
talking before, you're saying you like, no matter what happens, you want to like know that you tried everything.
Exactly. So IVF it was. So what does that process entail? So
Like, where am I right now?
that's a long one. So we did our retrieval back in November of 2020. So what I thought, I did a lot of drugs with IUI. It was like triple that with IVF because they want to stimulate you as much as possible and make as many follicles to release as many eggs as possible. So really stimulating them. So you just feel like super big, like you feel like heavy. Like it was like painful sometimes to walk because it just is like those last few days, you're like, oh my gosh, can we just get these things out? You're just so
take them out.
Yeah, you were so stimulated. But yeah, so they did the retrieval and they were able to pull out 14 eggs. So that was pretty good. We're happy with that number. And then they fertilized them, I guess you could say. And then from that, 10 of them took. And then they grow them for 2 days. And so then we had 7 that grew and didn't have any issues or anything wrong with them. So we had 7 little embryos, which was great. And normally after the retrieval, they do the transfer 2 days later. So then you're usually in that month, like you're doing it and you hopefully will be pregnant, right? Well, my lovely fibroid decided to grow back within those 6 months. So they took and froze all my embryos, and then I had to schedule another surgery for it in December. So that was a super letdown because it was like, you're just hyped up and you just want to do it. And then now it's like, well,
and it took you like a minute to get to even wanting to do that. And then,
right.
Yeah,
it was because it's such an emotional toll and a physical toll. I mean, my poor husband, he is my nurse because I cannot give myself a shot. Just mentally cannot do it. And so he's always shooting me in my stomach or my butt or wherever we need to get. And I don't do shots well either. So I'm
like having a shot in your butt and you have to like sit on your butt all day because you work from home, right?
Yeah.
And my goodness, that would hurt. Like, imagine people don't like it in their arm.
No,
like
that one's the worst.
Doing anything
that one's like a 2-inch needle because it has to go into your muscle and it's in oil. So it like lumps up. So you just have like straight bruised butt. It's so gross.
That would hurt so bad.
I would sit with like a heating pad on my butt and then rub it to try and get the oil to like not pool up.
So they inject like oil into your butt.
Yeah, it's like progesterone and oil. Is what they
Wow.
call it. Yeah. And so when you're drawing it up, it takes forever to like
Yeah.
fill this.
It's like 20 minutes.
Yeah. So you learn tricks. Like you put it in like wrap it in a heating pad first, and then it gets a little more liquidy.
Mhm.
So then it's not as painful.
So at this point, you've done IVF once, right?
So we got the retrieval. So they are little babies. I consider them babies at this point, are froze. So then I had to, in December, do my surgery to remove my other fibroid that was growing. And that's another part that's been super hard about this is normally when you go through infertility, your spouse can be with you. Like they can come in for the appointments. They can be there when you're doing the IUI and, be there for all these moments. And he hasn't been able to go to any appointments at all. So you're kind of just doing it on your own. And so, and that I think is super hard for him because, how tough is that to have to just feel like he's not being as involved as he'd love to be in this whole process. So that really sucks.
Yeah.
It's not fun. But yeah, so then in February, we did our first transfer. They grade your embryos. So like the best ones down to the worst ones.
A, B, C, D.
So they put our A team. It literally is an A, B, C, D. And there's like numbers and all these other things that go to it. But they put our two best ones in February, and 10 days later, you have to go get a blood test to see if you're pregnant or not. And I wasn't. So that was our first failed IVF. Still really no understanding why. The embryos were healthy. My numbers were good, like my lab work before we did the transfer. Everything seemed like it should work. It is only 60% chance, they say. So for us, they do 2, and then this next transfer, they'll do 2 more. And then the last time they'll do 3 because our 7th one isn't a great grade. So they feel comfortable putting, obviously you could still potentially get triplets, but
I said wouldn't that be it? Like you go through all this and then at the end, last chance you get triplets.
That'd be my luck.
So they'll go in 2 by 2, 2 by 3, and they'll slowly. Okay.
Yeah. So we have 2 more chances. So haven't lost all hope yet. For me personally, this process, I have to talk. I have to have people that will listen and like hear me. Cause I would go nuts if I was just like, and I've always been like that with everything in my life.
Dawn is the most open person I've ever met in my entire life.
I like to call myself an oversharer. Whether or not you want to know, I'm probably going to tell you.
If you think you know an open book, you've never met Dawn.
Wow.
That's what I'll say.
Honestly, I love oversharers. I think it's so fun.
Yeah.
You guys should hang out.
I just figure, why not? Like, especially this topic that's so common. I mean, I could sit here and list 30 people that I know who go to the same fertility or have gone to the same fertility center. And it's so relevant now. Like there's so many people who go through it that.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, talking about like how you need to talk about it, you said you started going to therapy. What made you decide to do that?
So it's kind of funny. I honestly only went to 1 appointment and it was life-changing. So it was, when was it? It was after my surgery, after I think my 2nd failed IUI. So my 5th one that I had done. And that was when like the thought of doing IVF was feeling like overwhelming and it just felt like so much. And I just needed like, I don't know, I should talk to someone, and my employer has an employee assistance program. And so you get free counseling sessions through it. And so everyone out there, you probably have free counseling through your employer. I just set it up. And I mean, honestly, I spent an hour just crying to this lovely woman who was so sweet. But her big thing that she explained to me, or I guess made me realize was, for me in my life, like I am a crazy planner. Like I am type A. I want a plan. I need to have a plan. Whatever plan A is, I have a B and a C and a D ready if plan A doesn't work.
Which is great for vacations.
Yes, I enjoy planning. And and it pretty much I don't want to make this sound bad, but like throughout my life, like if I had a goal or something I wanted to achieve, I set my mind to it and I did it and I got it. And this is like the first real process in my life where I couldn't control anything. Like I could control what I did to try and make it be as successful as possible. But beyond that, there's nothing else that I can manage to try and have the outcome that I want. So I think that was kind of freeing when I think you always knew it, but she just like threw it in my face and was like, listen, like you need to understand you can't control this. I think that was helpful. It definitely was helpful for me because I was like dealing with a lot of guilt and feeling like, why am I not able, like, this is the most basic human thing, you're supposed to be able to reproduce. Like, why can't I? Like, why is this?
Like you've done something wrong and it's your fault.
It felt like a lot of failure, just constant failure. And so I just need to be able to understand that, like, I can't control this at all.
It's completely out of your hands.
Right. Yes. So that one therapy session was it really helped me. So yes. I do recommend though. I would say though, my therapy is because I talk to people all the time. My friends, coworkers, family. Like I've got so many people in my corner, along with my husband, where I probably just talk this to death. And he probably just wants like a break. But you know me, I want a plan. So I'm like, if it doesn't work, now what? Like so yeah, I probably talk it to death. But that gives me comfort. And it's just because I know my personality. I need to be able to like know going into it that like it might not work, right? Because if I just go in 100%, then you're gonna fall a lot harder. Like, of course you want it to work, but my personality, I need to know that that's an option. It could happen. So then what? So I am ready to deal with it.
I feel like it's a fine line because obviously you always want to stay hopeful, but also you don't want to be too like, this is for sure going to, because it, like you said, every time it doesn't, it just hurts. Like, and you also need to like take care of yourself.
But it is a mental, they very much recommend, like you very much have to think that way. You have to be positive. You have to. And so my husband's great at that. He is the positive king. He's very good at that kind of stuff. And so thank God for him. This whole process.
Yeah, I think that like even just like having people to talk to, like supportive people, like a lot of people that we've had on here, like there's no way you can get through things without that. Like that's so important. Even if like, because a lot of people can't go to therapy or like, and you just need someone to talk to, really, just someone that will listen to you.
Yeah, I agree. Took the words right out of my mouth.
And I try to tell myself, like, because every time it feels like a loss, right? But and every loss, you also have a gain. So even though, it didn't work, I've gained friends. I've gained these relationships with people that I might not have been as close with before. And now I am. I've gained with my husband and I's relationship, our communication, I feel like is stronger than ever because, we're forced to talk about it. We have to talk about it. So I try and focus more on like, yeah, this might not have worked this month, but what have I gained? Like what has come out of this process? Every step of the way, they do just a little bit more. They do a little bit more testing. They add in a different thing. They try something else to see if they can just slowly figure it out. Obviously, my fibroids don't help, but every time before they do a transfer, I have a clean scan, so that should work. This last with the IVF, we just did last month a biopsy. So essentially, our embryos are 2 days old right now, frozen. So they say when they transfer them into you, they want you to be similar to as if your uterus is in a 2-day post inception. Right?
Oh wow, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so you're doing all these drugs to prep yourself and create this environment for these embryos to grow. So we last month prepped as if we were doing a transfer, and then I went in and just got a biopsy done. So they took a sample of my uterus lining I believe, and sent it off to this.
You're like, I don't know what they're taking out of me.
I don't know. They
anymore.
just cut I still had to go in twice, and it was not comfortable. Like, it was a little painful. So then they send that off and get a test to see if you're receptive. So that says like maybe you should start your drugs like 24 hours earlier, or start them 24 hours later, so that you fall in that perfect window of when you should put them in. So this last round of drugs, I came back where I should be. So we know the drug plan for our next transfer. And then they're also going to inject HCG, which is like the pregnancy hormone, into my lining when they do the transfer. So hopefully the embryos are like, yes, this is what I want to make. I want to grow. I want to be here. Like,
I love it here.
Right. Exactly. Just make it a little warm environment for them. So yeah, at least they have, that was comforting when it didn't work, that they had something else for us to do, some other test or process, so it wasn't just like, oh well, it didn't work, let's try again. So that will be our next transfer. We're feeling better about it.
Good. Dawn said the other day she just bought a new house, and she said, oh, I just bought the house that like I've always wanted. Maybe then the babies will be like, okay, this is where we wanted to live.
It's no joke. We have a tiny 2-bedroom, 1 bath right now. They're like, no, that's not.
No, thank you.
You were gonna put me in that room where all my dad's stuff is. Like,
Pass.
So now we've got a nice little home for them.
Let them know.
I know, right?
So usually we ask for advice at the end. So I'm gonna ask you that. But first, what is something like, whatever happens, that like a big, I guess, just lesson you've learned, or like something you'll take away from this?
Definitely that I can't control everything. Like, this has made me grow up, I guess. It's a good way to look at it. I think when you're younger, you're more naive. Life is, you live in your little bubble. And it's pretty simple. This has made you realize, it's not all roses. Life isn't great. There's going to be tough times and struggles that you go through, and it's just how you deal with it and the way you come out at the end. So,
do you have any advice for people going through it? Or I know we talked about this a little bit, things you wish people would understand about it.
Yeah, I mean, advice I kind of talked about earlier, but just kind of finding your community. Even if you might be a person who doesn't want to share, there are a few people who want to go through this on their own and definitely don't want to share it with everybody. But even just journaling or finding some outlet to help you process it, because it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's emotional, physical, it's exhausting. So finding some outlet or some community, some people just to lean on, and then just be considerate of people, I guess, would probably be my advice. And just, of everything that people are going through, maybe 10% of it, and it's probably only the best that's being put out there. So just have compassion and understanding, because whether it's infertility or anxiety or whatever it might be that people are dealing with, just know that there's stuff going on. Life isn't always just sunshine and rainbows.
That is our purpose here at the show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Really nailed it
well.
right there.
Yeah. So yeah, Dawn, thanks for being on the show. We really appreciate it. I know it's like, for you, it's helpful to talk about it, but I'm sure it's still a little bit sensitive. So thank you for talking about something that a lot of people go through.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for being on. It was great to have you.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. Maybe a year from now we can do part 2 where I'm talking about my struggles of raising triplets. Hopefully.
I hope so. My goodness. I hope, what, if Dawn has a baby, we'll bring her back on. Absolutely.
Oh, there you go.
We'll get it up the whole time. Yeah, we'll just have an hour of her babies crying.
Right.
And Dawn crying with them.
All of us will just cry.
Right.
I'll join. Why not?
Bye.
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 Thanks so much again to Dawn for being on the show today. If you have a story you want to personally share on the show or want us to read on air, find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at justapersonpod, or send us an email at justapersonpod@gmail.com. And we'll see you next Monday with another new episode.